Okay. I'm assuming you are in the old railway station, the old railway station here. The railway station is around
Yes.
here, old railway station.
Y- yes.
So now, if you look at this image, you will see that there's stream, there's a river here, there's a river here, and you'll see some white things.
Mm-hmm.
So if I zoom, and again, you can see there's another valley here. There's a valley here, and there's a valley here, and there's a valley here, and then I'll take you down to where the water went at the bridge at the Mai Mahiu. Are we together? So
Yes, you continue. I don't want my voice to get
if,
into your voice.
okay, if you look at the area here, you can see that there are deep valleys, and you can also see that the ground is barely bare. I mean very bare, and you can see areas, not now but before. These white strips you see here are actually landslides. So you see landslides have occurred here before, and all these landslides, they come and bring materials from the top here of the hill. You can see that this is a hill because there is a ridge here, and then on this side of the hill, there's materials that are falling in, flowing into the river here. The same on this other side of the valley, and the same on the other river. Basically the streams that flow off Kijabe area, not necessarily Kijabe Hill, because Kijabe Hill is the volcano that is very close to this area that is cultivated. You can see this hill. This is the Kijabe Hill, the smooth one. This is Kijabe Hill, the smooth one. And it just happens that this Kijabe Hill, this stream here is the last one on the western side before you get into all the runoff that feeds into now the system that gets off at Mai Mahiu. So that's the first thing I want you to note, that the erosion takes place in this place. Actually, landslides take place in this place. They have been there before. And the cause of those landslides is basically people harvesting any form of vegetation in this particular place, and or just cultivating. You can see some cultivation here on one of the slopes here, or some cultivation in the top hills here. And obviously with cultivation, the water can't stand. The water will just simply flow. And the way landslides work is that it rains, water accumulates in the soil or the top part of the soil. Most of the time there is a rock underlying. And if the water is not able to penetrate deeper into the rock, it starts flowing out. And then it creates a lubrication at the surface between the rock and the soil itself. And that lubricant then starts to cause the material to shear, basically to flow. And if the shear strength is the force against the shearing is lowered, then the material just flows and falls off and flows. My suspicion is, because I haven't been to the field to see exactly what happened, my suspicion is that there was a lot of rain on the plateau, on the main road. You see the main road is a little bit up here. This is the main road to Nakuru, this one here. So my suspicion is that on this upper part of the catchment, there was a lot of rain, and then that rain, of course, on the hills here caused the material to flow, and the material flowed out, and basically the flowing takes into the valleys, and then from the valleys it flows down. And you can see the railway line is this one that is traversing around here, and the railway station is this one, and then below it, then now we do get the areas, now the areas where people are settled. So you can see the drainage zone. That river will basically flow, and then it some kind of dies off because it reaches the lower plane. The material is very porous. The water simply some kind of dies off, but you can see a defined valley here, there with vegetation. And then it goes all the way now to the main road area, but it doesn't reach the main road. It joins this other one and then cuts across, and then goes all the way across into now where it is supposed, where it joins these other streams, and then crosses the road here, where you normally see lorries being washed at the valley here. If I zoom in, you'll actually see the lorries. You can see the lorries being washed around here. Exactly then is that there was too much rainfall, and then with that, with a lot of rainfall, the flow brought about the rest of the materials with it, and then that flow then led into the flow or the systems that came in and caused these areas to flood. So the flooding, I suspect, started all the streams. If I zoom out, you'll see there's a stream here, there's a stream here, there's a stream here, there's another stream here. And they all join and they exit the upper part of the escarpment into the lower side, into Mai Mahiu. Mai Mahiu is this town here. So we have Mai Mahiu town here. I suspect the flow went through here, went across the main road to Narok, and then went to join Kedong Valley on the other side. Having said that,
Okay, now you can. Yes, Prof.
I believe.
Yes. Yes. Can we just have you on camera now, because we've given? Okay.
Just a moment, then you'll have me in camera. Having said that, you will have noticed that there is another very deep gully along the road, and then it crosses over at some point. That's the crossing is number one. The first crossing is the one at Mai Mahiu, and then the second crossing is here. You can see it here. The water running along the road. And you remember last time I told you that there are north-south fissures or fault systems and the open gashes that where the water actually flows and then finds its way somehow along them. And you can see this is a very well-defined one along the road. And then that is number one. Then the second one crosses the road here, somewhere around here. And the third one crosses the road just before you reach the railway line, somewhere around here. If you have been in that area, you must have witnessed, especially around here, a lot of soil being brought onto the road from Kijabe Hill. And Kijabe Hill is basically this system here. And you can see the system is purely cultivated without terracing. And because of it, then there are lines around there. So just putting you into context. After putting you into context, then I can bring myself onto the screen.
Yes.
Oh. For myself, okay.
No, for everyone.
For everyone.
Yeah.
Okay,
so that you can fill up the screen.
I can exit, stop presenting.
Yes, okay. That's perfect. That's it. Hello?
There you are.
Okay, so I have just 3 questions for you. Number one is this scenario a man-made issue that has been building up over time?
Yes, I just showed you the escarpment area, and you can see that the escarpment area is bare. There has been landslides there before, and those landslides contribute actually the mud or the materials that flew down the river at this point in time because we had excess moisture or rainfall, which then translated into a lot of flow in the valleys I've just shown you. And of course, joining up to become a huge flow system, more or less like all the flows you have seen in all the rivers in Nairobi or elsewhere. It just happens that there's a lot of water and the water simply occupies the entire valley or riparian area and flows along the riparian area, sweeping anything on its way. So it may not have occurred in the magnitude of now, but it has occurred in smaller magnitudes before through the landslides that we have seen that have occurred in that area before. I'm sure you saw that there was a lot of mud flows that were brought along, and you can then perceive that these mud flows came from the hills up there.
So in your experience, have you, in your understanding also of this escarpment into the Rift Valley and also the dynamics within this ecosystem where we are right now, are we still out of danger, or right now the disaster operation and command should also be looking at other minor flooding, or maybe the road is also still, this place, is it still on the alert phase, or what should be the sense of urgency to monitor the welfare of people around this area?
I don't know, unfortunately or whatever, you see people have bought land with title deeds on those lands, and they actually value the lands where they live. So convincing people to move from where they live when they have not seen a risk itself is a little bit of a challenge. But now that the risk has come to that particular setting in Mai Mahiu, then everybody who is living in an area that they perceive water runs through should be at risk at this point in time, because the rains have not stopped. I am sure Kenya Meteorological Department has warned us, and they have indicated that we'll receive these rains until about 15th of the month, next month. That means if we receive enhanced rainfall in the course of time, we will receive more landslides from that area. And obviously, with more water, that mud will be washed down into the flat plain below. And more or less like it happens in Chesegon. Chesegon, the flow came from very far. So these flows come from very far, and they will just be shifted down into the plains below where they stabilize. And the stabilization basically means that they'll bury everything that is on their way, or sweep or bury. Sweep if it is on a steep slope, bury if it is on a flat plain where it is coming to rest.
Maybe finally, from where you sit, what could be the policy long-term solution? Because right now the immediate and short and medium-term solutions are just, the humanitarian crisis, trying to also get rid of the debris and all that. But are you forecasting, or could you forecast confidently from your findings and your studies that if the status quo continues, then we will be seeing more and more of these situations of flooding, and also the degree of damage would also be higher than what we've witnessed here in Nakuru?
I think the problem we have is that we are not willing to embrace the measures or dimensions that are required of us. I'm not sure whether you know it, but the DRM policy, the disaster risk management policy, as almost every government, we bring this policy to cabinet to ratify it, so that we have a guiding document that will guide the framework for risk management. But that policy has never been ratified by parliament. And what that means is that we don't have a framework within which we operationalize ourselves, that creates institutions that will formally be responsible for certain aspects of the risks that we face, right from drought to flooding to anything that we face. Now, every time we have a risk like this one, we receive some conversation revolving around policy. That, we are now taking this policy to parliament, and parliament will ratify this policy. But I can tell you for free that as soon as this event is over, then we will settle down and say, hallelujah, God has heard our prayers, and therefore we are no longer in risk, and therefore we don't need to take any measures. If you also recall, we had in 2018 the fracturing of what was being referred by media as the fracturing of the Rift Valley, which was actually a similar event like now, when there was excessive moisture running across the Narok Road, and then it washed one or two places along Narok Road. Of course, there was a measure that was proposed to be put in place, but that measure was not implemented. Now, of course, we have revisited the same problem now. The road is washed off in certain sections, or mud flows are on the road in certain sections. And of course, without a guiding policy as to what those institutions that are responsible for the management of various aspects of risk, what they are supposed to do, then we can't bring anybody to account. And I think that's the main problem. The other problem is that we get a situation where we are supposed to operationalize ourselves within the fiscal planning. So every piece of our land should be fiscally be planned. What is supposed to be or occupy certain spaces on our land. And those fiscal planning principles through the CIDPs, that is integrated county development plans, are supposed to be in operation or in implementation. But you see, this is just information on paper. There are no institutions formally charged with certain responsibility of ensuring that actually people don't settle in flood-prone areas. So you allow the people to just occupy the land as they wish. And then when the risk comes, then you tell them that, oh, you took yourself to the danger and you can now account for yourself. It can't work like that. We must advise our people on areas that they cannot settle. We must not allow them to settle there at all. In fact, we should not sell that land in the first place to them. So it begins with the very many institutions. You can imagine the people who give title deeds and survey land and sell land and approve the sale of land. And of course, you are aware that the county administration is involved. And it's very complex. But at that level, at that lower level, they're supposed to know from previous mapping, and we have been advised that for you to know the risks you face, you have to know the history and the mapping that has been there before. And then from that history, you know areas you cannot go to because of the risks that are there. And we should not sell that land anyway. That's supposed to be public land that is supposed to be utilized for common use, either grazing or other things that don't endanger the resource or the communities who settle there. So beginning with planning, who is responsible for fiscal planning? Who is supposed to ensure that areas that are prone to risk, nobody occupies that space? Unfortunately, even some of the infrastructure are constructed in areas that face risk. Look at the Thika Superhighway, a very magnificent infrastructure by all means. But I remember when this was being constructed, one of the questions you were asking is, why are the Chinese, I'm sorry to mention a country, putting the interchanges in depressions? Supposing, like the one in Kawasukari, the river just passes under there. And obviously, when the river was angry and it came, it just filled the space around the tunnel. And that is it. But why was that construction allowed? Did we have engineers and other entities or even NEMA itself, when they gave approval for the construction of that road? Can't we perceive that those depressions will be flooded at one point? So there are many things, Beatrice, that Bridget, that we can talk about, but just seeing that from the point of view of planning and ensuring that the appropriate measures are put in place to ensure that nobody does a wrong thing is the first line of attack. But if we wait until the dangers are there and then we want to move the people will not move because that is their land. There's already been licensed, given title deeds for them. Do you have any other concern?
No, I think for now that's okay.